All right, a happy Monday night. We are going to do a little bit of a video on some of these extensions that took place. 14 rookies signed extensions starting back on early July. Certainly the max players, Tyrese Halliburton, LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards. And then we had an avalanche of extensions within the past few days leading up into that 6 p.m. deadline. Certainly the most ever that we've seen come about, and we'll do a little bit of a deep dive into why and some of the numbers. I've tweeted out the actual contracts. All the contracts have come through. I've looked at all the contracts. I've tweeted out with the percentage of the salary cap. Certainly the big extension, which was not a rookie extension, is the extension of Giannis that came about 6:45 on Monday. Giannis had up until 11:59 p.m. because he had 2 years left on his contract. Players with 2 years have up until the last day before the regular season. Player that has 1 year left or two, but the second year a player or a team option has until June 30th. Players like Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, players like that have up until June 30th. Giannis, Derek White, Lauri Markkanen, players like that had up until 11:59 p.m. to get a deal done. I love first of all, I love how sensitive, and I don't care, and I'm probably going to hurt people's feelings. I love how sensitive, it's probably my fault because I sometimes read people commenting how sensitive some fans are out there that there is a secret hidden agenda about Giannis and that we're trying to drive him out of Milwaukee. Listen, Giannis doesn't sign my paychecks. I could care if Giannis was in Milwaukee or playing in Nova Scotia. And I say that why people are maybe sensitive or there's a hidden agenda is because I've been on the air and my colleagues have been on the air, and Giannis has been quoted. Now, if it was just us without the player being quoted on why signing an extension did not make sense financially right now, why a 3-year, we're saying it's 186. That's based on that the cap takes a 10% increase over the next 2 years, similar to what Anthony Davis. Why signing an extension now did not make sense financially. We've said all along, if Giannis wanted to maximize his next contract, it would have been to not sign the extension, wait until next offseason, and sign a 4-year, $244 million extension. That's the reality of it. There's no hidden agendas here as far as what we're talking about when I go on the air and I talk about Giannis signing that extension. Now, when you kind of peel back the layers and you look at it long-term, big picture, by signing the extension, which he did, a 3-year extension with a player option in year 3, okay? That gives him the opportunity to maximize his future potential earnings on the next contract and the contract after that, if he stays healthy. Right? If he stays healthy, he could opt out or decline that option and extend again for another 2 years, and then extend again another 4 years, and not have the over 38 rule impact. Okay? That gives him basically 2 more cracks at the apple if he stays healthy and is playing at a high level. That is, and I tweeted about it, and man, Milwaukee fans are sensitive. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm hurting people's feelings here. Be happy that your player just committed to you for the next 5 years. Appreciate that. Don't jump all over the media that we have a hidden agenda to get him out of Milwaukee. I could care less if Giannis is in Milwaukee or Nova Scotia. Appreciate the player being there. And I see, oh, and you guys didn't think you had enough to get Dame. We've never said that. I went on record saying that to get Dame, you're basically going to have to rope in a third team, which essentially was the Boston Celtics here. So Giannis signs the extension. It's for 3 for $186. That's the maximum based on the cap increase for the next 2 years at 10%. He can decline that option, okay, and become a free agent. And I'm going to pull up their cap sheet. So he can decline that option and become a free agent in the offseason of 2027. He can extend in the offseason of 2026. He can do another 2+1 extension with Milwaukee, decline that option, and then sign for another 4 years. I mean, that's basically 6 or 7 years down the road here. Who knows where any of us are going to be down the road here. So that is what Giannis and Milwaukee. And here's the other thing too. And you guys know, we're not naive to this. Just because you sign an extension doesn't mean diddly squat. Milwaukee could lose in the first round next year. Adrian Griffin this thing could explode. Chris Middleton could be the Chris Middleton we saw last year. And contracts mean nothing. Okay? Him signing an extension, great. He gets financial security. You still got to produce, and you still got to play at a high level, and you still have to put the right product people around him, or he will ask out like Damian Lillard asked out in Portland. Lillard signed that extension and still asked out a year later. Certainly different circumstances based on Milwaukee, a more established team, and John Horst putting the right pieces. But you've got no draft picks, and you've got 2 older players in Middleton, or 3 Middleton, Brook Lopez, and Damian Lillard. So congratulations, Milwaukee. You got Giannis on an extension. We didn't think it was going to happen. Shame on us. But he signed it because, as I said, he looked at the bigger picture down the road as far as extending for 2+1 with the ability to sign 2 more contracts before the over 38. So that's my rant, my 7-minute rant on Giannis here. So for some of the extensions here, certainly we had 14 players. I'm not going to go into the guys that signed, Peyton Pritchard and those players here. We're going to kind of tackle the players that we saw over the last couple days. Onyeka Okongwu, 4 for $62. First year at $14 million, $9.8 million. Saddiq Bey did not get extended. Atlanta is dancing with the luxury tax for next year. They are going to be a tax team next year based on if they're not going to be able to move a Clint Capella or a DeAndre Hunter type contract. Good value for Atlanta. We saw the Peyton Pritchard extension. Patrick Williams did not get extended in Chicago. Isaac Okoro in Cleveland. Josh Green, 3 for $41, starts at $12.6 million, 8.9% of the cap. Terrific value for Dallas. I thought that might be a little bit more of a team-friendly deal. Zeke Nnaji, the only player that's got a player option out of the 14. He's got a descending contract, starts at 8.9. Last year is at $7.5 million. It's a good value contract. Detroit, no Killian Hayes, no James Wiseman. They are restricted free agents. Aaron Nesmith, 3 years, $33 million, $11 million flat. Obi Toppin, no extension for him. Let's go through some of these guys. We talked about Giannis. Jaden McDaniels, 5 for $131. That's the number I had on. I used Mikal Bridges as a comp. $5 million and unlikely bonuses. All-NBA Defensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year for McDaniels. They are going to be in the second apron next year. Minnesota is a luxury tax team. Edwards, McDaniels, Gobert, Towns, luxury tax. Have fun with that with a 42-40 team next year. You're going to have to figure it out as far as where you're going with your finances. If this team is the 8th or 9th seed, it's hard for me to see ownership paying the luxury tax and being a second apron. Things can certainly change, but I don't fault Minnesota as far as extending McDaniels because you are going to be in the same situation a year from now. than you are right now unless you make a trade. I think it's a really good value deal that Tim Connolly and that front office did for McDaniels, because it certainly could increase next year. New Orleans, no deal for Kira Lewis. New York, Emmanuel Quickley, no deal. I had Quickley at 4 for $80. Thought maybe something could get worked out. OKC, no deal. Cole Anthony, really did good deal for Cole Anthony, 3 for $39. Team option in the last year. Starts at $12.9 million. Good deal for Cole Anthony. Tyrese Maxey, we've talked about at length why Maxey did not get an extension. Cap hold, $13 million. Max number, $35 million. Philly would lose $22 million in room. That was not happening. We've known about that since July in the beginning. No deals in Phoenix. No deals in Portland. Sacramento, no. San Antonio, we saw Zach Collins, 2 for $34.5. That's the most. No for Precious Achiuwa. Denny Avia, 4 for $55. That's a declining extension. That's a good value for Washington. I'm just pulling up my my players here. Who else? Edwards, Ball, Okongwu, Denny, Devin Vassell, 5 for $135. Tyrese Halliburton, Nesmith, Cole Anthony, Isaiah Stewart already happened. Josh Green, 3 for $41. Nnaji, 4 for $32. McDaniels, 5 for $131. Desmond Bane, 5 for $197. Peyton Pritchard, 4 for $30. 5 players out of the 14, first-year contract is below the non-tax mid-level exception. The last 3 years before this year, 32 players extended. Only 3 signed for less than the non-tax mid-level exception here. A lot of players, a lot of value signings for teams. Players that did not get extended, we've talked about it. Certainly Tyrese Maxey goes in as one of the top free agents next year. Players that likely are not going to get an extension because they have 2 years left. Clint Capella, Derek White, Alex Caruso, Donovan Mitchell. And then there's still a group of players that are extension eligible until June 30th. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, they have 1 year left on their contract. Those players have 2, but you don't count the player option or a team option here. So those players are extension eligible up until June 30th. So that's in a nutshell, a 12-minute video. We just did, me and Eric Pincus on Sports Business Classroom, an hour-and-a-half monologue on everything about rookie and veteran extensions. I'm sorry if I've offended Milwaukee fans, but that is the rationale on the extension here. I have no agenda against Giannis in Milwaukee and staying. Good for him committing here, but you have to produce. That's the end goal. You do not put a championship team out there, it is easy for the player to walk in and ask out. Have a nice night.